What's up, YouTube? It's Brett Dallas, and it has been a doggone minute since I have made a video about supplements, nootropics, and in this video I've decided to come at you with the God Guide to creatine monohydrate. I made a video about creatine on my channel some time ago, but as that channel doesn't exist anymore, I thought, it's time to come at you, drop some knowledge on what I believe to be the most accessible, most effective, cheapest, and most versatile supplements you can buy. And so, get yourself comfy, snuggle up with your favorite protein shake or caffeinated beverage, and let's talk a little bit about creatine monohydrate, which I happen to have a tub of sitting right next to me here. So this video is going to have 3 sections. I even have my fancy dancy notes here. What it is, how it works, and what it does. And then, bonus, I'm going to give you some tips from my own experience, having used creatine off and on for probably 25 years or so. There is a lot to love about this substance. It is, first of all, let me stay on track. What is it exactly? Creatine is essentially just a fairly complex mix of amino acids, which is to say, it's basically a collection of 3 proteins. I've got my notes here. I'm going to refer to them: arginine, glycine, and methionine. These 3 amino acids put together make creatine in its free form, and then the monohydrate part of it means that it is bonded to an atom of water, which means that it's much more bioavailable when you take it. So when you go and you shop for creatine, what you're probably going to be getting in almost every case is creatine monohydrate. So that's what it is. It is naturally occurring in just about every kind of meat out there. So if you're a meat eater, which is to say you're not a vegan or a vegetarian, you are already consuming creatine to the tune of about 1 to 2 grams per pound of meat that you consume. Now, that is raw meat. That is not cooked meat. When you cook creatine, much of the creatine converts to something called creatinine, which is not the same, and it's actually a waste product that is filtered out of the body through your kidneys. So if you're going to look to your meat source as a source of creatine, then you're going to be wanting to eat more raw meat. Now, I don't necessarily condone eating raw meat. I'm not the liver king. I don't aspire to be the liver king. And with the exception of perhaps having some sushi every now and again, raw meat is really not for me. I will enjoy a rare fillet every now and again, but that's kind of the exception. Like I said, it's available as creatine monohydrate. It is colorless, odorless, tasteless. You can snort it. You can mainline it. I'm just kidding. Don't do either of those things. Please don't snort creatine. Don't shoot it up. It's not like that. It's not going to get you high. It doesn't really have any risk profile. That is to say, it's very difficult to overdose on creatine. I'm going to get into dosing a little bit later on in this video, but suffice it to say that creatine is one of the most benign and low-risk substances you can possibly take, and it has one of the longest list of benefits. So let's move into how it works. So when you consume creatine, whether you're getting it from your meat or you're getting it as a supplement, it's going to pass through the GI tract into the bloodstream, through the lower intestine. And when it does that, it's going to take about 3 hours to make its way from your bloodstream into your muscles, which is where 95% of the creatine you consume is stored until it is finally processed out of your body over a period of about 4 to 6 weeks. So really, the half-life of creatine, if it's stored in the muscles, is very long. It's over a month. However, the time it takes to get there is very quick. So it's only about 3 hours after you consume it that it's where it's going to be, which is why if you're going to supplement with creatine and you want to use it for athletic performance, you're going to want to take it at least 3 hours, preferably 5 to 7, before you're doing your exercise if you really want to get the benefits out of it. That being said, because it is stored in the muscles over such a long period of time, it's important to take it daily, consistently. You're going to get the most benefits out of this by using it for a long time over time. When you take creatine, what's going to happen is it's going to go into your muscles, like I say, and it's going to also make your muscles a little more thirsty than they already are. What I mean by that is your muscles are going to need more water to deal with the increased conversion of ADP to ATP, that is adenosine diphosphate into adenosine triphosphate. If I'm getting into the chemistry weeds here a bit, then bear with me, because this is something that I think you'll use insofar as having some knowledge about how your muscles work. Every time you contract a muscle, whether it's a heart muscle, a bicep, whatever it is, smile, frown, every muscle in your body is going to use ATP to perform a contraction. And ATP is kind of the way that muscles get their power to do their jobs. ATP is also, incidentally, used in the brain pretty extensively. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, because there are some benefits to creatine that don't stop at athletic performance. But when you take creatine, when it gets into your muscles, it's going to stay there, and it's going to aid in the synthesis of ADP into ATP, and it's going to rely on an increased store of water within the muscles to do that. And so you're going to retain a little bit more water than you did prior to taking creatine. Now, this isn't an awful lot. It's something like, at the max, about 3 pounds of water weight gained over about a 4 to 6 week period for people who are just getting into a creatine regimen. So don't think that you're going to take creatine, all of a sudden you're going to balloon into some water monster. It's not going to work that way. The water, by the way, is going to be stored in your muscles for when it's needed, which is going to have the fun side effect of making you look more muscular. And this is why a lot of people see lean mass gains using creatine. I don't think, though, that what's happening is that the muscle fibers themselves are increasing in volume. Rather, the water volume within the muscles are increasing, making them look fuller. Now, that's a great segue into what it actually does once it's in the body system. So, like I said, it's going to increase the availability of your muscles to synthesize ATP, and then the translation of that into what you can expect to see is increases in strength, increases in exercise capacity, and increases even in some other areas like cognition and mood. But I want to start with the athletic performance, because that's where most people see the most obvious and the most immediate benefits when they're using creatine, right? So within about 4 weeks, probably 4 to 6, of a creatine regimen, you can probably expect to see somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 to 15% improvement in maximal strength gains. What I mean by that is when you go to lift something or when you go to push something and you try as hard as you can to lift or push that thing, the amount of increase that you can expect taking creatine can be somewhere between 7 and 15%. Now, that may not sound like an awful lot, but if, let's just say, you bench press 250 pounds, well, a 10% increase is going to be 25 pounds. And so now you're bench pressing 275. That's a big deal. And that's just one exercise. This also goes for endurance athletes. If you're a sprinter, if you're a runner, and you're only used to being able to complete a certain distance run in a certain time period, your time can go down, and the distance you are able to run, by the way, can also go up. That's the performance capacity part of this that creatine can benefit. So I want, though, to interject here with a pro tip on the use of creatine, because I've found this to be the case. Because it makes you retain water, or it's going to pull water into your muscles, it is especially crucial for the first few weeks of taking creatine that you are hydrating using an electrolyte alongside your creatine. So if you're making a creatine shake or something like a smoothie with creatine in it, go ahead and add your favorite electrolyte powder, or be sure you have your stable of electrolytes coming into your body from another source somehow, so that you're not getting dehydrated. I have suffered this myself, thinking I could just be this cowboy who just, like, shoots down 5 to 10 grams of creatine and then lives off of a cup or two of water a day, and it's not going to happen. You're going to get some headaches. You're going to get dehydrated. It's not a good time. So I would say increase the amount of water that you're consuming. Hopefully you're using an electrolyte alongside of it by at least 15 to 20% when you start getting into a creatine regimen. So like I said, increases strength, increases the capacity for exercise, also increases muscle mass. But I think I already touched on that in saying that the muscle mass increase you can expect is going to come from water retention within the muscles, not necessarily increase in muscle fiber volume, which is an important distinction to make. So I want to move now into the benefits of creatine that are not related to athletic performance. And this is actually some fairly recent study, or this is information from some fairly recent studies that appear to show the relationship between use of creatine in supplement form and increases in cognition and mood, and even there are some potential neuroprotective benefits. This is kind of coming out of left field. People were not expecting to see this, but it's happening, and the studies are sound. I've looked at more than a few of them. And so it's not just an athletic performance supplement now. It's being used to mildly supplement the use of antidepressants. Creatine has been shown to have a mild antidepressant effect, and it also has been shown to mildly help the symptoms of certain neurological diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease. And so people who are struggling with these ailments are looking at creatine or looking to creatine, and some are suggesting that it's because of the neuroprotective element of it. Some are also suggesting, though, that because it aids in ADP to ATP synthesis, that because the brain uses a copious amount of ATP, that creatine helps make that process more streamlined. Therefore, we have increased cognition, and in some cases, better nerve firing within the brain. So that is not something that we started seeing until about 10, 12 years ago, when some studies were coming out suggesting this. Prior to that, creatine was just some jocks, add in to their shake, and something that they could talk about in the locker room and sound smart. And it's more than that now. And by the way, happens to be the case that creatine has more pronounced effects psychologically, cognitively in women and people who have lower brain energy metabolism. Now, I don't know how to measure that. I'm not a neurologist, but if you've been told that you have a low brain energy metabolism, I don't even know what that looks like, then look into creatine specifically for that use case. And if you're a woman, particularly if you're a woman who is physically active, who wants to increase your physical performance, creatine is a hand-in-glove fit for you. But I also want to go back to the initial section of this video and reference the fact that this is a cheap, colorless, odorless, tasteless, easy to take, readily available substance that you can get pretty much at every vitamin shop, and even in some pharmacies and some drugs or some grocery stores across the country. You can get it almost anywhere, and it's very inexpensive. This tub of, I think there's 2.5 pounds of creatine in this tub. This is going to last me for at least half a year, I would say, of regular dosing. This was probably, I think this was like $30, $35 max, and it's high quality stuff. That reminds me, I want to talk about dosing just a little bit, because that is important. If you do decide to take this stuff, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to dose that roughly 0.1 gram of creatine per kilogram of body weight. And so for me, that translates into roughly 15 grams of creatine. I'm not taking that much. I don't feel like I need it. I have experimented with this substance for decades, and I have found that for me, 5 grams a day is more than enough. And it's just not worth going above that. It just doesn't seem to help with my current activity level. And so 5 grams is roughly 2 rounded tablespoons full of this powder. And if I'm feeling crazy, or if I'm training for something wild and adventurous, then I might go to 10, but that's just a lot. It doesn't make sense to do, and it just seems a little extraneous. And so if you're, let's say you're 200 pounds and 0.1 grams, I don't know, I'm not very good with that kind of math, but do that math yourself. As long as you're coming in at about 5 to 10 grams a day, you're going to be just fine. Anything more than that, then you better be a bigger person, or you better have a higher activity level to justify that kind of increase. And by the way, any excess you take that your body doesn't use is just getting flushed out, and it's not also turning into creatinine, which is the waste product. It's being passed right through your body, likely through your kidneys into your urine and out your body. So you don't really have to worry about overdoing it with this stuff. Any more that you would take on top of what you would use is just going to pass right through you. So go get some. This is one of those substances where I cannot, and I do try, I cannot find a reason why you wouldn't want to take this stuff, save one. There's only one reason I can think of why creatine would not be something that you would want to look at doing, and that is if you have any renal issues, if you have liver disease, or if you have cirrhosis, if you're someone who deals with problems with your excretory system, or filtering waste products out of the bloodstream. Maybe not for you. Just check with your doctor. I always have to say this in my videos that I'm not a doctor. I'm not a pharmacologist. I have 0 pedigree in either disciplines, and I'm just some dude on YouTube who has an affinity for substances like this one that appear to have benefits in the areas of mental health, athletic performance, cognition. And so take what I say with a massive grain of salt and try creatine for yourself. And my last request is, if you do decide to take creatine, that you come back here and you tell me how it went for you. A couple of final thoughts though, before I leave you to it. It used to be common thinking that if you were going to take creatine, you had to load on and off of it. You had to get off of it like you would get off a cycle of steroids. That is not the case anymore. The studies have shown that you can get on creatine and you can stay on it indefinitely, and you're not going to gain anything by getting off of it and going back on it and going through a load phase, or whatever it was that these muscle heads used to do. But I will also say from my own experience that it's best to titrate up if you decide to start with this stuff. Get in at about a gram or 2 a day for a week. Move it up to 5 grams if you get up to 10, maybe by the second or third week, and keep it there indefinitely. There's no reason to load on it and then come off of it. Let's see. Oh yeah, avoid the creatine blends that you'll find out there, right? And so there are a lot of creatine products that include all kinds of other amino acids or caffeine or whatever else. Just try to stay away from that. Get from the source, the real deal. Get creatine monohydrate in its powder form. Mix it in with something viscous like a milk-based smoothie, or something that's kind of thick so you don't notice the slightly grainy texture, consistency to creatine. It's not perfectly water soluble, but if you mix it in with something like a smoothie, or like a milk-based drink, then you don't really notice it. I think that's pretty much it. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, that's it. So that's your God guide to creatine. This is the first supplement video I have made on this channel since I have restarted my YouTube channel, and I feel good about it. And I'd be curious to know if you'd like to see more content like this. If so, I would love to make it for you. I do miss making videos like this. If you have some suggestions on substances you'd like me to cover, drop a comment in the chat, or in the box below, I should say, because there's no chat here. Not yet, at least. But when I get back up to 1,000 subscribers like I did a while ago, I will re-enable the live stream feature, and we can have some fun again like we did back in the old days. But anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys. And don't forget, if you do decide to take creatine, come back here, share your experience, and you will get 10 brownie points, bonus points directly from me to you. Those are redeemable at any time in the future for things that I will disclose later. And that's it. Thanks again for watching. Peace, love, and light. See you guys in the next video. Take it easy.